Hello everyone, so glad that you stopped by. Today's video is all about embossing folders and pattern paper and is in continuation to my yesterday's video where I had so much fun creating beautiful cards with my stash of pattern paper and beautiful embossing folders. So today we are continuing it with Altenew Sun-Kissed Blooms embossing folder and matching stencils. Now many of the Altenew embossing folders do come with coordinating stencils, but if you don't have such, you can just take out your embossing folder and try the techniques yourself and maybe not even use stencils and just do ink blending. To combine my embossing folders, I have this beautiful celebrations paper set by Altenew. This is sadly retired now, but I am a hoarder. I actually don't want my papers to get over. It is similar to how I have this feeling of I don't want my son to grow up. It is similar to that. I don't want my papers to get over, but luckily this pack has papers which are double-sided and you have the same pattern so many times that I've decided to use some geometric prints. Now I have spoken about how I plan my design in my previous video about how you can think of combining your embossing folders and your pattern paper. What are the elements that you should be careful about, and how it will just bring out the best of the pattern paper and also the embossing folder. So if you've not checked out that video, please check that out, and let's go ahead and make our cards with these. So I've taken this gray wavy pattern paper, and on the Altenew embossing folders, on most of the floral embossing folders, you will see that there are valleys, which is very different from what we'd seen yesterday in our geometric embossing folders. And here you have the inside of the floral pattern is where you're going to get your color. So most of your flowers are going to be uncolored if you swipe ink over it, but the rest of the background will get the color. So I have taken industrial diamond gray ink. For the background, I'm thinking like a monochrome, just adding to the gray which I already have on my pattern paper. So I put my color around my folder and then get my pattern paper put inside, and I will go ahead and dry emboss it through my die cutting machine. And now I'm sure you have your favorite sandwich to emboss. Now what I did was I made sure what side of the flowers I want embossed, because I'm using an A2 size panel. I don't want the whole floral cluster to come on my pattern paper, so I plan to just add a section of my embossing folder on my cardstock. I spritz some water over my cardstock and I get some drops of water on my folder as well. So I am reapplying the color and now I will dry emboss it. And now here we have a beautiful texture. Now we see that the background now is already covered with gray, but the flowers are just popping up and they have all the pattern that I already had on my pattern paper. And just to add on to it, because I initially thought I don't want color inside my flowers, but now I think a little bit of gray inside will not look bad. So I go ahead and do it the second time. Now find the paper's groove, like put the paper back into the mountain area of your embossing folder and then emboss it again. Now here I have it. And for the next step, I am going to apply white pigment ink. This is Altenew's Cloud White. I go around all over my embossed floral pattern because I want ink all around the raised edges. Now what will happen is only the edges of my flowers are getting the white because they are raised the most. The flowers' depths do not get the white. I go around with my finger. I actually feel this way you disperse the white pigment well, and it also dries a little faster. And after the white pigment ink dries, I am taking the pure graphite. This is dark gray color. Now I want some more darkness amongst the floral bunch. So I am adding my pure graphite just around the flowers, like inside the flowers, and just to increase the intensity of depth. Like I want it to be darker inside the flowers and like go lighter, because I think with white pigmenting it is looking quite light and I don't have the contrast that I would enjoy. So I find my groove again and go ahead and dry emboss my embossing folder and pattern paper again. And now this is what I like. I like this, like I have some gray inside the flowers as well, but the raised edges Yeah, I want, want to add a little more white pigmenting over it. So it's all about creating contrast, I think. Like in my head, it works well if I have good contrast, especially when you're playing with white and black. If you have a good contrast, it's going to pop up more. Now to add to my black and white and gray, I get a little metallic watercolors by Altenew. If you have relief paste, please go ahead and use gold relief paste. I did not have a gold relief paste, so I am getting my metallic watercolors. And for first, I just want to try it over pollens. Like, maybe this will look nice as the center of the flower. And I think I'm happy. And to create more contrast on my flowers, I have these gray markers. These are warm gray set, and I'm going to take the darkest of all, which is Lava Rock, WG07, and I'm just going ahead in the center of my hibiscus and adding depth to the center of my flowers. Now it is up to you how dark you want. This warm gray set alcohol markers come with 4 colors. I can actually now reduce the intensity and bring in Moon Rock, which is the less darker color, and lighten it as we come further towards the petals. And to darken the inside of my floral cluster, I bring the black marker. This I'm using a Copic marker, and just at the edges of my floral pattern, I go around with black. So now this will create contrasting shadows and will make my floral cluster pop up much more. Now because the black was little too stark, I go ahead again with my Lava Rock and Moon Rock and just reduce the intensity by blending the black out with grays towards the outside of my cardstock. It's such beautiful contrast that I've got. I thought, why not add little more gold? And I'm sorry that I forgot to record that part. I honestly did not record it. But what I did was I took my metallic watercolors and went around my leaves, and the leaves which are of plumeria, of hibiscus, all these leaves I colored with a watercolor, metallic watercolor in gold. And I love it. I love this beautiful, rich, classy combination that I've got here. And now that I'm happy with my panel, now it's time to assemble it, for which I have taken brushed gold cardstock, which will be my mat. And this mat will be a little more bigger, like I want a little more border around my black. So I leave bigger area. And then just to see, I mean, all the orientations look good, but yeah, the one I want is where we have on the left top area some empty space where I can add my sentiment, for which I have used Best Wishes tag die set, one of my most used die set, and I have die cut for you the word with the same gold cardstock and white for the shadow. And to bring in and bring out my white a little more, I am using the Pearl Dots embellishments by Altenew, the ones in ivory, and I hope you like this card. Let me talk about the giveaway. I have a $30 gift certificate for one of you, and I would like to know if you are a pattern paper hoarder, somebody who does not have pattern paper, or somebody who loves to use pattern paper. Write down your preference in the comments and I will choose one winner and announce the winner here on this video next Sunday. Next Saturday, I also have my AECP free card making workshop. If you would like to join, please email me. I will add in the comments the link to the upcoming workshops. Also, let me tell you about this amazing offer that Altenew has given for my followers. You can get $8 off on purchase of $79 worth products. You add it in your cart and use this code name ISHANICRAFTS. This code is valid till 7th March. So maybe you can even have a look at the new release that may happen in March soon. So also I would love if you'd use my affiliate link. It is always a blessing when you think of me while purchasing from Altenew. For my next card, I'm using this peach and white striped paper, and you can go ahead and use it in a horizontal way or a vertical way. I am going to use it horizontally. I don't know, there's something in my head like vertical makes it like very formal, masculine for me, and it could just be in my head. Maybe there is a design element, I'm not sure. But I am looking for the best way to get both of my hibiscus on this paper, and I find this orientation which will look good, I think. Actually, this folder in any which way if you use, you'll get great results. So I go and get it embossed, and I love the way it has come out on this pattern paper. We're just going to make it more pretty, and now I'm going to do stenciling over this. So before I stencil, I am again getting the cloud white ink, and I'm going to go over my floral embossed patterns. If you have been participating in my workshops, which I take monthly, my free Zoom workshops, you would probably remember something similar when we used our pigment ink for our card, and how it elevates your card and gives you a great surface to work with. So I'm using those same principles that we used. I also have that video in my YouTube, which is called Ink Blending Tricks, the Master Ink Blending and Die Cutting on Cards live class. And because I have embossed my pattern in a different orientation, I first get my folder and check what is the orientation of my flowers. And then I take the stencils and orient them in the similar way to always ensure that they line up and there's not much confusion. So I add my stencil number 1, and I'm going to ink blend over this, and we'll start from the lightest color. I am using Cherry Blossoms Pink Diamond first as my lightest ink. And with the number 10 detail blending brush, I go ahead and add my ink from the center of the petal towards outside, making sure that the ink is mostly in the center of the flower, and then you have lighter streaks towards the outside. Continue adding the same pink diamond on both the flowers, and then I just want to check which petals are under so I can add more ink. And keeping that in mind, I add the second color, Pinkalicious, from the same cherry blossom family towards the center. Next, I want to color the plumerias, and I get Citrus Burst from Pocket Full of Sunshine set, and I finish my first layer. And after adding my second stencil, I actually take the same Citrus Burst and put it a little heavily on all my plumerias. So I'm not changing the yellow, I'm just adding more intensity of the same ink. I wipe off the yellow and then get the second color, Pinkalicious, on my second stencil's hibiscus petals. And how I did earlier, from the center I go outwards, making sure that I apply darker intensity color at the center of the flower, and towards the outer petals I reduce the intensity. I continue doing the same, and I check on my embossing folder which are the petals that go under, so that I can add a little more darker color at that specific area where the petals are under the the upper petal. I hope you understand what I mean. I add my third layer, and now I've come with fresh lemon for my plumerias. This is a little darker yellow, and for the center of my plumerias I am adding honey drizzle. With a small blending brush, I add just at the centers. And for the third petal, like the third stencil petal, I get Rubellite, which is my third ink, in pink, and I blend the ink similar way for all of the petals. Now, just to make all of the petals cohesive, I am getting my first stencil again and adding Rubellite to the center of the flower. So this one color will bind the whole flower together with a similar intensity of ink in the center of the flowers. And now that I had honey drizzle and my plumerias also of the first stencil there, I add a little bit of ink, making sure that it is at the center of the flowers. And for that purpose, I'm peeping to see that the honey drizzle is just at the center and not at the outer edges of my plumerias. Now I add my fourth stencil, which is majorly the leaves. And for the leaves, I'm going to use two sets of greens that I have. I'm first using Eucalyptus from the Frosted Foliage fresh dye ink set, and I add it to the plumerias, particularly where the plumeria flowers are, or where I can spot the plumeria leaf. And then to darken it at the place where the leaf is touching the other flowers, I add Forest Fern. And for the other leaves, I have got my green meadows, and in that I am using Sweet Leaf first for my other leaves, And to deepen these leaves with sweet leaf, I go ahead and add some just green, and I have most of my stenciling done. Like actually all the stenciling is over. Now you can deepen or you can change the colors as per your preference. So like last card where we used alcohol markers, watercolors, ink blending, how can we not do the same here? So I am getting my warm grey alcohol markers. It is the same set that we used earlier, but this time I'm using Morning Frost WG01, which is the lightest color, and I'm taking the bullet tip and I'm going around throughout my flower the raised portion, and outside the flowers I go ahead and add with my brush nib the same color. And I have an alcohol blending pen. This is Colorless Blender by Altenew. I believe it's no more available in stock, but you can use any colorless blender and blend out your gray so that we don't have a very stark gray presence, but you can see it raised. And now after all the coloring is done, I want to go ahead and emboss it once more to just crisp up my embossed lines. For that I make sure that my panel is in the groove, and in case you cannot find the groove properly, just make your embossing folder stand up vertically, and then the grooves will, the flowers will just fall into the place where they belong. And I have my embossed panel again. Now I take a brown marker and with a little slant, I add the pollen on it. I just make the nib run very flatly onto those raised edges of the pollen, and here it's finished. And to assemble my card, I have this top folding metallic yellow cardstock that I have from my stash. And for the sentiment, I have my very loved Versatile greetings too. I die cut happy thrice, and my uppermost layer is in dark pink. I also stamp birthday on a white colored cardstock. And now it's simple. Just take your 3D foam tape and add it over the A2 size panel. And glue your sentiment on the top right corner, add birthday with foam tape, and it's almost done except the embellishments. And this card was calling for some dewdrops. So I've got this enamel dots crystal clear by Altenew, and I'm going to strategically add some dewdrops over my beautiful hibiscus flowers and leaves. And here it is. I love this soft pastely card. And now choose amongst both of these. Which is your favorite? Which is the technique that you liked? And which is your favorite card? I want to send you, which one would you like to get? Thank you so much once again for stopping by. Please do not forget to use the coupon code and also enter the giveaway with the question that I asked you. If you're a hoarder of pattern paper, if you don't have any, or that you love to use pattern paper, let me know in the comments below and I'll pick up a winner. Thank you so much for watching. I love that you stopped by. Every new visit, every new subscriber, I really thank God for it. Thank you so much to you. Bye-bye. Take care and happy crafting.